Maddux Radosevic back here on the growl talking about the first ever Xbox Bowl here. Ought to be an exciting time, and we knew we had to get a special guest in here to talk about it. We've got the Kansas State Athletics beat reporter for USA Today and the Topeka Capital Journal, used to write for the Springfield News Leader. And guess what? He's also an alum from the Standard student newspaper. You got to show him a lot of love. Wyatt Wheeler, welcome aboard. Thank you for joining us.
I haven't done anything for the Standard since I've probably ditched them as the editor in chief to take the news leader job about 10 years ago. So, Jack Diamond, I'm still sorry to throw that wrench at you a couple weeks before the semester started, but it seems like we're all in a good place and love what you guys are doing with the Standard. Love to see some energy get back in there and, working hard there is how I got my start. So nothing but love for the Standard.
Yeah. Well, nothing but love for you as well. Excited that you're still keeping up on Missouri State athletics, even though you're hanging out over on the other side of the state line now, over there in Kansas, in Manhattan. Exciting to be talking about the Bears here today. Who would have thought this would have been a possibility all the way back in August that we'd still be talking Bears football here in December, talking about a bowl game, first ever Xbox bowl game. Let's just start out with your initial thoughts on the Bears playing in this game and what you think their chances are against Arkansas State.
It's just an incredible thing. The last time I covered the Bears was their game at USC, and they didn't know how to make a pursuit angle or tackle or anything, and they lost by 60. And it's just like, man, they have a long way to go. And this just shows how hard this whole transition is going to be. And then the next week they go beat Marshall. So it's just like, man, they figured some things out quick. So it was just really cool to just follow the whole season as it went along, the one score games and how they were able to pull off a lot of those wins. Just watching Ryan Beard's success and see this team just follow his leadership. The Jacob Clark comebacks, the Liberty game was one of the more bonkers endings that I had ever seen. You always see Missouri State lose those games. I covered Missouri State before the Petrino era, and that made me lose some love for football, just watching how bad they were at some of those points. And just seeing them be able to win a game like that at Liberty, be able to get themselves in a point to where they have 6 wins, they can be bowl eligible. And then, of course, not enough teams win to put them in this position. And it really doesn't matter if they win or lose in this bowl game. It's just a celebration of how far the program's come, and they still have a shot. Even with the coaching changes and everything, you might have the better quarterback on the field. The other quarterback throws a lot of picks, just not the best pass defense at Arkansas State. So I think there's going to be points scored in this game, and I think Missouri State has a really good shot at winning this. Just assuming that some of its transfer portal departures, especially along the offensive line, doesn't hurt too much. But you have probably the best quarterback in your program's history behind center, one last time, and I look forward to seeing how they're able to how they compete in this game.
I like how you kind of mentioned that it almost doesn't even matter if they win or lose this game. And I think you said something similar back near the beginning of the season about what a privilege it is to get to play in those types of games. I believe it was in reference to the SMU game, the home opener here for 2025. And it's incredible that they get another one of these here to end the season. One unit that has made a lot of progress here this year is the offense, because this was the side of the ball that lots of people were more confident in coming into the campaign. You knew you had Jacob Clark coming back for one last ride, had a pretty good receiving core, the new running back coming in from FIU with Jamari Lawrence, and it just didn't seem like they were living up to expectations right out of the gate. They struggled, turned the ball over in the red zone, weren't putting together the quality drives you thought they would. And now it seems like that side of the ball is just about as unstoppable as we thought it would be here in 2025. So, what are you looking for the offense here against the Red Wolves?
Yeah, you knew it would take a little bit. You're consistently playing against better defenses every week. Then you would have those North Dakota states, South Dakota states in years past, but then you'd occasionally get a Western Illinois or an Indiana State, and then you're consistently getting those better defenses to where you're having to adjust and things to that. You're playing a different speed, and it ended up coming along to where. Um, Jacob's able to find, they had some turnover at wide receiver to where they needed to get better on the offensive line. The offensive line took a huge step this year. Missouri State's really close to having 1,000-yard rusher, and I know a lot of people really like Jacardier Wright, but the little bits I've seen on Shamari Lawrence, I've been more impressed with him than I was with Jacardier Wright when he was in the Bears uniform, and that's an NFL. That's guy that's on an NFL roster. Just been really impressed by what he's done. And Jacob's just so solid. He always has been ever since he first took over as a starter after Jason Shelley graduated. So Jacob was always going to get to that level, going to get to that point. It was just if the people around him were able to get there. And Nick Petrino's a really good offensive play caller. So that's uh, everything just came together to where they're able to get better towards the end of the year. I know they lose those last two games, but to be able to go on a 5-game win streak, to have the game-winning drives, to have a true freshman come in and win the game for you as well, just really speaks to coaching, offensive line coming to its own. Some of those skill players at the wide receiver and Shamari Lawrence playing really well to where the Bears were able to have this type of season.
And on the defensive side of the ball, this was the unit that lots of people were counting out to start the year. And it was a big reason why lots of people had the Bears winning a maximum of 3 games here this season. Of course, they went on to win 7. The defense overperforming had a lot to do with that. You mentioned the USC game right off the bat, 73-13 loss the Bears accepted in the first game of the year. And then the defense completely turns it around. They get the fundamentals in place. They learn how to tackle and have a nice pursuit angle, and they go 9 straight games allowing fewer than 30 points to their opponents, but then allow 40 or more in those last 2 contests. Have to deal with a lot of injuries coming near the end of the year, of course. But how about the defense for this Arkansas State game?
Yeah, hey, you look at the linebacker core was something that we spent a lot of time on during the offseason because I mean they all decided to transfer elsewhere, whether it was one going to TCU, another going to Tulane, um, one going to Ole Miss. I mean, you have two of your linebackers last year on college football playoff teams. Another one was playing in the Big 12. So um, you knew that was going to be a big challenge to change to fill, but they've done it. Jalen Brooks and just uh, his improvement over the year. Kanye Young was somebody that I went into the season just like, man, if they're going to have some trouble if that guy's starting on your defense, and his development has been awesome. Just fun to see him run around and make tackles in space um, and it speaks to the coaching. The first year Missouri State had the Petrino Beard era, the defense was why the Bears went to the playoffs for the first time since 1990. Um, and Beard has shown the capability to develop linebackers, which he's done again this year. They overhauled that secondary, and I think that was by design. Beard wanting to get a lot better, get a lot longer there, to where he's able to go get a Jordan Dunbar, be able to develop some guys and put them in that secondary to where they were able to create some turnovers and play really well this year. At the same time, you get some pass rush. DJ Wesolak was a big deal when he came in, contributed uh, uh, leading sacker for the team. Devon Townley was able to make some good plays there towards the end of the season to where you had some pass rush there. I wonder how, if DJ doesn't play in the bowl game because he's entered the transfer portal. Some of the other moves there, but that just shows you where Beard was as a developer to where he's able to be able to go land a Coastal Carolina job. We talked a lot about in the several other openings, but it was really impressive to see what that unit was able to turn into after some struggles, maybe in the last couple of years, especially that first year after Beard took over for Bobby.
That's a great segue into the next topic of conversation. As you mentioned, Ryan Beard packing his bags up, going to Coastal Carolina. And now the Bears have interim head coach Nick Petrino at the helm. How much do you think that's going to affect the team for the Xbox Bowl?
I don't think it'll affect too much. You're going to still having your offensive play caller is a big deal. We'll see how it does in some of the microphone things, just some of the communication that they're going to have to deal with. That Nick's going to have to figure out how to do some timeouts, know some of the game situation type stuff that he hasn't had to deal with before, but he's still calling plays. LD's going to take over he's going to be fine with the defense. And I think the bigger things are some of those transfer portal guys that if you're looking at some of those offensive linemen, starting to the part, whether it's a Cash Hudson at center, a long name that I'm able to say also on that offensive line. I'm a writer, not a radio guy anymore, but it's um, but just that I think that's some of the more impactful things. I think this group's just still knowing a lot of guys on that team and some of the people on that and within that program. They're still going to be plenty motivated to go out there. I know Ryan Beard's the great motivator and everything. But these guys have internal motivation to go out and finish this season on a high note. And then you still have Jacob Clark back there playing in his final collegiate game to where it'd be nice to send him out and see one last great Jacob Clark performance.
So, what's the expectation for you with these guys who have announced that they're planning on entering the transfer portal when it opens up here in January? You got Ebubedike Nabugu, that long name you were referencing earlier, Cash Hudson, JJ O'Neal, DJ Westlock, and Tristan Gardner. As of Saturday, when Patrick Ransdell, the athletic director, spoke and talked about what the situation was with these guys, he said that he knew of only one player for certain that was not going to play in this game, and I believe that was Tristan Gardner. But what do you think? Is it going to be a situation where none of these guys play? Could all of them play with the exception of Gardner? Are they going to be limited? What's going to happen here?
It's a rarity that they do play when they intend on going in the portal, just because they have big money that's going to be waiting for them, and they don't want to risk that by getting hurt. So it's just the unfortunate way that college football's kind of it's one of the side effects from all of this, but all of the change within the sport. Um, it would be a surprise to me if you see them, but I would assume they want to welcome them back with open arms because a lot of this coaching staff could also be taken off as well. Maybe the entirety of the coaching staff, just depending on how things shake out. So it's just the unfortunate part of this. But when you look at offensive linemen, if you have a good season and you have eligibility remaining at the G5 level, the power fours are going to pay you. If you're a pass rusher who had a good season at the G5 level, the power fours are going to want to pay you. That's just the way the sport has turned into at this point, to where they can't, it would be a risk of a lot of money, potentially six figures that you're looking at there that they're risking if they were to go out there and get anything that was hurt, get any substantial injury. So you hope to see them, but it would be a surprise to me to see a lot of them. And of course, I'm not on the inside anymore and talking to these guys all the time. So maybe they do have a different type of feeling at Missouri State right now.
Moving beyond the Xbox Bowl, moving beyond January, these guys entering the portal. What do you think the Bears are going to do with this next big head coaching hire they've got? Lots of names have been tossed around. You've got some different offensive coordinators from some prominent programs like Vanderbilt, SMU. Of course, you mentioned how great of a play caller Nick Petrino is. He's got the spot right now as the interim head coach. Who do you think the Bears should hire for their next head coach here in Springfield, Missouri?
Yeah, I haven't dove into much of that. It's going to be a fascinating one to follow. because Patrick Ransdell is making his first hire, head coaching hire as athletic director. So you're not seeing some of the trends that maybe you saw under the previous administration. So this is all brand new. It would be so it's I'm really watching what does Ransdell do with his connections, considering that he's from the Danny White tree at Tennessee athletic director. He worked under him at Central Florida. So you're looking at all these different people Danny White's worked with over the years, whether they come from Tennessee. You look at Ransdell's time at App State. You look at White's time at UCF. So there's going to be there's going to be a lot of names that pop up for this that you haven't seen at the level Missouri State has had before. While at the same time, you're going to have some interested Power Four coordinators that want to try to maybe get in and get their first crack at a head coaching job. A lot of head coaches at the G5 level sometimes go to be a coordinator at the P4 level now, just because that's where some more money is, and sometimes that turns into a bigger coaching job. So, just in the world of how the college athletics has changed, this one's really different from Missouri State than anything it's ever gone through before. And of course, being an FBS program now, I don't have a specific name that I've really been drawn to when I've looked. I haven't done the most research on this. I got out of a coaching search, a 3 day coaching search while covering Kansas State, and I hate coaching searches. So I'm just I'm happy to not be at Missouri State right now during this. I'll happily cover a football game and write some nice stories surrounding that. But it's one that you look forward to with Ransdell getting his first crack at it. And just seeing how he goes about it and what kind of name they can land. And I would assume it's going to be a name, it might not be Bobby Petrino excitement that he had when taking over the Dave Steckel era, when that was as bad as it could get. But it could be one that you're just like, man, this is how far the program's come to where it can go from a successful coach to hiring fill in the blank.
Yeah, yeah, and you bring up how fast some of these coaching hires are happening now. You talked about Kansas State, how quick that process was with their hire there, 3 days, you said. And I'm sure Missouri State is thinking they want to have just as fast of a turnaround here because you don't have a lot of time to waste with the portal opening up in January. We saw what kind of an impact that had on the men's basketball team last year, and certainly could have an even bigger impact on the football team. And Ransdell, as he said on Saturday, he wants Missouri State to win right now. You've got a quarterback in Deuce Bailey that you're hoping can come in and fill the shoes of Jacob Clark. What do you think the state of this program is here as they try to make this hire and continue to gain momentum as they head into their second year of the FBS?
Yeah, I mean, it's in the best spot it's ever been as a program. I'm just kind of looking at stuff as I write a few nice stories for Springfield in the days ahead, and it's just like, where I mean, there was a quote that Ryan Beard had earlier in the year. It was just like, this program was in the depths of football hell, and that's what it was. Whenever I'd write a story for the news leader back in 2019, 2018, every single story was just filled with Facebook comments about how they just needed to get rid of the program. It was just wasting money and losing games in embarrassing fashion. It's in a great spot where you are seeing more money being dedicated to that program than ever. You're going to see facility upgrades over the next few years, few decades, to where there's actual momentum within this program and great leadership. Probably for the first time in a long time, when you're looking at Ransdell, Biff Williams, and just the money people that they've already been able to connect with, to where you're really excited about what this thing can look like. And there's going to be a coach out there that's going to look at this like it's a good opportunity for them to prove themselves, to be able to do what Ryan Beard just did and move on, and get a bigger coaching job. And that's not a bad thing. And you would rather them be good and get hired away than get fired and then have them be terrible and be fired. A coach is hired to be fired unless they decide to go elsewhere afterwards, and that's a great thing for Missouri State. Um, so it's in the best spot it's ever been. They want to hire somebody before January 2nd when the portal opens. And I know you mentioned Deuce Bailey, but you're going to see a lot of roster turnover at the same time. There's going to be guys that want to try to go with Ryan Beard to Coastal Carolina because that's who recruited them. There's going to be guys that want to go find somewhere to try to play bigger elsewhere, that want to get their Xboxes by playing in the Xbox Bowl. And then they decided right after, okay, I got my Xbox and my other swag that I was able to get. I'm going to go in the portal and go play somewhere else next year. So there's going to be a handful of guys, and you can't get too attached to anybody in this age of college football, especially at the group of five level. When if you're good, you're leaving because you have a bigger payday. But it, you don't have to be angry about it. You don't have to be mad at Brian Beard for making a career choice. You don't have to be mad at the probability of some of these guys leaving that you've grown to love this during maybe the best year in the program's history. But you're also but you can still be excited about what the future holds because this program has made such large strides to where it's just an exciting time for that program, and it's got a long way to go, but it's amazing how far it's come over the last few years from where it used to be.
And much of that amazement taking the stage on a national level here on Thursday, December 18th, 8 o'clock kickoff against Arkansas State down in Frisco, Texas for the Xbox Bowl, the first ever Xbox Bowl. Great insight, as always, from Wyatt Wheeler. Wyatt, thank you again for joining us today.
No, love to be here. Thanks for inviting me, guys.